I do believe coaching is a big part of winning championships, and the sum is not 60-40, 51-49.
No, Coop, come on, man. Man, New Mexico got to do better with y'all math, man. Come on.
You don't think Dean Smith coaches off the championships at North Carolina? You don't think he had a lot to do with that?
Yeah, he did, but let me tell you. You look at the NBA. I mean, North Carolina's considered a basketball factory.
Exactly. And that coach down there coached y'all to win championships, even when you guys didn't think you could win.
You know what? Since you bring that up, I got to tell you a story about Dean. Dean was a fantastic man. And I know you heard him doing this. When Dean died, his estate, all the lettermen that he had, he sent every one of his lettermen a check for $200. Who does that, Coop?
Yeah.
We got a letter, and they stated in the letter that we're the ones who built the Dean Dome. He recognized that. He's in that mode. Popovich is in that mode of Dean Smith. He recognized that the players made North Carolina basketball what it was. He realized that. He said it, and it's the truth. I believe that.
Should we be expecting a check from Pat Riley, you think? I
don't think so.
remember Jamal last week, Coop?
He's from the Kentucky line. He ain't from North Carolina.
But remember Jamal last week? We basically said the same thing about Wooden. Wooden was the same way, and how much of the ego is a part of, because that's essentially deferring ego, for a coach. And I think that's so huge for any coach at any level. But is that still there, you think, today? Is that an era thing, or is that just a coach? Some coaches are different than others.
I think it was an era thing, because I think Phil Jackson possessed that. Pat Riley definitely had it. I think Red Auerbach had it. I think the only one that didn't have a big ego that was a winningest coach, Lenny Wilkins. But again, to be a great coach, you have to have that ego, but you have to suppress it sometimes, because you got to allow your team to step forward and stand forward. And I thought Pat Riley did that extremely well, especially during our era. And I had heard stories about Phil Jackson doing it when he got to L.A. I don't know what he did in Chicago, but when he got to L.A., he suppressed his ego a lot, because, Kobe and Shaq had massive egos.
Yeah.
How big is your ego, Mac?
I had none. I never.
You didn't have an ego.
No. Nobody. It was inner, but nobody knew it. I never expressed it. I didn't make a dunk and like Shaq doing all this.
Oh, McAdoo, we ain't talking about that. We talking about thinking you one of the baddest mothers on the team. That's what ego is to me. Showmanship is another thing. I'm talking about an ego.
Well, everybody in the NBA has an ego.
I don't. I didn't. I did on the defensive end. On the offensive end, I suppressed mine for you guys.
How many NBA players are there out of the millions that play? 400 or what? 450? You had an ego. Don't tell me that bull. Don't be political. You talking some bull. You had an ego, because I saw you when you were guarding against Larry Bird. You was in his face like, you ain't getting that shit off on me. You was showing your ego for the TV and everybody to see.
Okay. That was called what I call up.
I used to see you and George Gervin get into it all the time.
You ain't the skinniest guys in the NBA.
You ain't scoring no 40 on me. I used to hear you say that all the time.
Yeah, but my ego wasn't bigger than the team. It never really was going to be.
Mine wasn't either. I didn't say, Coop, I never said anything. I'm sitting over there watching Kurt play before me.
Now, that didn't bother you? That didn't bother me?
Hell yeah, it bothered me. First he had Mark Landsberger start, then he had Jim Brewer starting, then he Then he had Kurt starting. Coop, I'm lucky I'm not dead from hypertension. That shit bothered the hell out of me.